Cancer. There is a particular kind of knowing that travels between two people without being spoken. And I want to start with that because it is the substance of what is occurring. You have stopped feeling the way you once felt about a certain person. The stopping was not a decision in the dramatic sense. It was the result of a gradual interior process that has been unfolding for some time, in which feelings that had been central to your experience of this person quietly settled into a different configuration. You may not have always tracked the process in real time. You may not be able to identify the specific moment when the shift occurred. But the shift has occurred, and it has occurred completely enough that the person on the other side of the situation has now registered it. They have registered it without being told. They have registered it through the texture of what is no longer being communicated, through the absence of certain things that used to be present, through the quality of the silence that has settled in. I want to take a moment to honor what this represents in you. The shift from one configuration of feeling to another, when it occurs naturally rather than through forced effort, is one of the markers of inner growth. You did not have to perform the shift. You did not have to remind yourself daily to feel differently. The feelings reorganized themselves in response to information that accumulated, in response to experiences that informed your understanding, in response to the slow clarification of what you actually wanted and needed. The reorganization happened because the conditions for it were finally in place. The conditions were in place because you had done the work that produced them. You can take some quiet recognition for this. The recognition is not pride in the loud sense. It is just acknowledgement of a real interior accomplishment. The other person knows that you no longer feel the same. The knowing on their side is not the result of any explicit communication. They have figured it out through other means. Sometimes the figuring out occurs through observation. They notice that you are different in your engagements with them, even if the difference is subtle. Sometimes the figuring out occurs through the absence of the things they had grown accustomed to, the particular quality of attention you used to offer, the specific ways you used to engage. The absence is louder than any presence would be. Sometimes the figuring out occurs through an interior sense that they themselves cannot fully explain. They simply know. The knowing has arrived in them, regardless of the channel through which it arrived. The knowing is real. I want to address what they are doing with the knowing, because the doing is part of the dynamic. They are sitting with it. They are processing what it means. They are coming to terms with a reality that they did not expect to encounter. The processing is taking time. People generally take some time to integrate the information that a connection that mattered to them has changed in its underlying substance. The integration involves grieving of a sort, not the grief of catastrophic loss, the grief of a particular kind of ending, which is the ending of the configuration of feeling that they had been operating with. The grief is appropriate to what is being ended. It will pass. Other configurations will become possible for them in the future. But for now, they are inside the grief, doing the necessary work of letting go of an expectation that has become unsustainable. I want to share something specific about your relationship to their grief. You are not responsible for managing it. Their grief is theirs. It is the appropriate response to information about a real change in conditions. Your role is not to provide comfort or to soften the information for them. The information is what it is. They are doing the work of integrating it. You can have compassion for them as a human being undergoing a difficult interior experience without taking on responsibility for the experience. The compassion is appropriate. The taking on responsibility would not serve either of you. It would, in fact, interfere with their integration, because it would suggest that the change in your feelings is something that can be reversed through your involvement. The change is not reversible in that sense. The integration requires them to accept that the change is real and lasting. This is Cancer Tarot, and I want to take a moment to address you because the reading is about a situation that is bittersweet in its emotional register, and I want to make space for whatever you are feeling. There may be a part of you that feels a quiet sadness about the situation. The sadness is appropriate. Even when a feeling has changed and the change is right for you, there can be a residue of awareness that something that was once meaningful is no longer what it was. The residue is not regret. It is the natural acknowledgement that something has ended. You can allow the residue without interpreting it as a sign that you should reverse the change. The change is correct. The residue is just the texture of completion. There may also be a part of you that feels a kind of relief. The relief is also appropriate. The previous configuration was costing you something, even if you did not always articulate what it was costing. The relief is the response of a system that has been carrying weight and is now setting the weight down. You can allow the relief without feeling guilty about it. Feeling relieved when an unsustainable situation completes is not a sign of coldness. It is a sign of accurate self-knowledge. You know what you need, and the previous situation was not providing it. The system is registering the absence of strain. There may also be a part of you that feels a kind of confused mixture of emotions that does not resolve into a single name. The mixture is also appropriate. Situations of this kind are inherently complex, and the emotional response to them is often equally complex. You do not have to sort the mixture into a tidy single feeling. You can let it be the mixture it is. The mixture will, in its own time, settle into something more integrated. The integration will not require you to choose one feeling over the others. The integrated state can include multiple feelings simultaneously. I want to share something about what is happening on the other side now that the other person knows. They are reconsidering things. They are looking back at the connection between you and noticing things they had not noticed at the time. They are revising their account of what occurred. Some of the revising is uncomfortable for them because it involves recognizing things they did or did not do that contributed to the change in your feelings. Some of the revising is more neutral, just an updating of their understanding to include information they had previously missed. The revising is its own form of growth. It may serve them in future relationships, even if it cannot change the current situation. I want to address what may or may not occur in terms of contact between you. The other person may, at some point, attempt to reach out. The reaching out may be motivated by various impulses. They may want to verify what they have intuited about your feelings. They may want to make a final gesture of communication before accepting the new reality. They may want to express something that has been weighing on them. The reaching out, if it occurs, will probably be tentative. They are not in a position of confident expectation. They are in a position of someone who has lost the assumed access they previously had and who is uncertain about whether any access is currently available. I want to share an orientation about how to respond if reaching out occurs. The response is yours to determine. You have several options. You can choose not to respond at all. You can choose to respond with a brief acknowledgement that does not invite further exchange. You can choose to respond more substantively, providing a final piece of communication that helps them understand and integrate what has happened. None of these is automatically the right option. The right option depends on your assessment of what would serve you and, secondarily, what might serve them. I would gently suggest that you not respond from a sense of obligation. If you feel that you owe them something, examine the sense of owing. Most of the time, in situations of this kind, you do not actually owe anything beyond what you have already given. The obligation, when it arises, is often a residue of the previous configuration of feeling, in which you were more committed to their well-being than you currently are. As the configuration of feeling has changed, the obligation has also changed. You can let it lighten. You can respond, if you respond, from a sense of what you actually want to do rather than from a sense of what you feel pressured to do. I want to mention something about a particular kind of response that may serve you if you decide to respond. A brief, kind, clear communication that acknowledges the situation without inviting renewed engagement. The communication can express, in whatever language is comfortable for you, that you have appreciated what was between you, that your feelings have changed, and that you wish them well as both of you move forward. The communication does not need to be elaborate, it just needs to be honest and clean. A communication of this kind provides closure without creating ambiguity about whether closure is what is being offered. It honors the connection that existed without pretending it can continue in the same form. This is Cancer Tarot, and I want to share an observation about why your feelings changed, because the why matters and you may not have fully articulated it to yourself. Your feelings did not change because of a single dramatic event. They changed because of the gradual accumulation of information that informed your understanding of the situation. The information included specific things this person did or did not do. The information included your own developing clarity about what you actually want from a connection. The information included broader life experiences that gave you context for evaluating the connection. The cumulative information produced the shift. The shift was not arbitrary. It was the appropriate response of someone who pays attention to evidence and who updates their feelings based on what the evidence shows. I want to honor your discernment in this. Many people, in situations of comparable information, override the implications and continue to invest in connections that do not warrant the investment. You did not override, you allowed the information to inform your feelings. The allowing is a form of integrity. It is the integrity of someone who refuses to perform feelings they no longer have, who refuses to maintain configurations that do not match the underlying reality. This kind of integrity is hard. It requires a willingness to face changes that may be uncomfortable. You have demonstrated this willingness. The demonstration is a quality you can carry forward into future situations. I want to take a moment to address what your life looks like now that this situation has clarified. You have more capacity available than you did when the previous configuration was active. The capacity has been freed by the relinquishing of feelings that had been operating in directions that were not serving you. The freed capacity is significant. It is available for other uses. Some of those uses will become apparent in the coming period as the capacity finds the places it wants to go. You may discover energies for projects, relationships, or interests that you had not been able to fully access while the previous situation was occupying your interior space. The discoveries will be among the gifts of the clarification. I want to mention something specific about the period of no communication that the title references. The no communication is not a strategy. It is not a tactic designed to produce a particular response from the other person. It is the natural state of two people whose connection has reached a point where communication is no longer productive. The no communication has its own meaning. It is meaningful as the appropriate silence between two people who have, in different ways, accepted that the previous configuration is over. The silence is not hostile. It is just true to the current state of affairs. You can let the silence be what it is without feeling that you need to break it or to maintain it through deliberate effort. The silence will continue as long as it is the appropriate state, and it will end if and when the appropriate state changes. I want to address a possible concern. There may be a part of you that wonders whether the change in your feelings might reverse, whether you might at some point look back and wish you had handled this differently. I want to address this. The change in your feelings is not something you produce through forced effort. It happened through accumulating information. The accumulating information does not reverse itself. The information continues to be the information it was. So, the change in your feelings is, in this sense, durable. You may, at some future point, look back at the situation with various feelings, including some that may be more sentimental than your current state. But the underlying recognition of why your feelings changed will remain. You will continue to know what you knew when the change occurred. The knowing is what makes the change reliable. I want to mention something about how the closure of this situation will affect your relationship to your own future. With the previous configuration completed, you are more available to whatever is next. The availability is significant. People who are still energetically invested in completed configurations have less availability for new developments. As you become more fully available, new developments will have more room to enter your life. The new developments will arrive in their own time. You do not need to seek them. They will find you in contexts you do not yet need to specify. The finding will be one of the rewards of having completed what you have completed. I want to share an orientation about how to live in the period that follows this clarification. Continue to invest in yourself. Continue to maintain the relationships that have been supporting you. Continue to engage with the work and activities that have been meaningful. The continuing is the practice. The practice does not require any specific action related to the situation with this person. The situation is in a state of natural resolution. Your continuing presence in your own life is the only thing required of you. The continuing is what produces the conditions for whatever comes next. I want to take a moment to acknowledge something about the courage involved in allowing your feelings to change naturally. Many people, when they sense that their feelings are shifting, attempt to override the shift. They tell themselves they should feel a certain way. They perform the feelings they think they should have. They suppress the recognition that something has changed. The performing and suppressing produce relationships that are increasingly disconnected from underlying reality. You did not perform or suppress. You allowed the change to occur and to register. The allowing is courageous. It is the courage of someone who values truth over comfort, even when the truth requires reconfiguration. You can quietly recognize this courage in yourself. It is one of your qualities. This is Cancer Tarot, and I want to share something about how the energy of this situation will resolve over time. The current period is a period of acknowledgement and integration. Both of you are in your own integration, doing the work that the changed conditions require. After a period of time, perhaps not very long, the integration will substantially complete on both sides. The completion will produce a settled state in which the previous connection becomes part of the past, available as memory and as influence on who you have become, but no longer active as a current dynamic. The settled state is what is approaching. The approaching is gentle. The settling will occur in its own time, without requiring deliberate effort from either of you. I want to mention something about what you will carry forward from the previous configuration. You will carry forward the lessons you learned. The lessons may include things about yourself, about what you want, about what does not work for you, about what kinds of partners are not aligned with your structure. The lessons are valuable. They will inform your future choices. They will protect you in subtle ways from repeating patterns that did not serve you. The protection is one of the unexpected gifts of completed situations. They teach you what to avoid, and the teaching becomes available to you in future situations where it can be applied. You will also carry forward whatever genuine gifts the connection produced. There were moments of value in what occurred between you and this person. The moments are real, and they remain real, even now that the configuration has changed. You do not have to disavow them. You do not have to revise your account of them to make them seem less significant than they were. They were what they were. They contributed to who you have become. You can keep them as part of your history without their requiring continued engagement with the person who was part of producing them. I want to address a specific feeling that may arise. You may, at some moments, feel a kind of mild grief that does not seem to fit your current state. The grief comes from somewhere true. It is the appropriate response to having loved someone in some form who is no longer a central figure in your life. The grief is allowed to be present. It does not contradict the rightness of the change in your feelings. You can love someone in some form and still recognize that the configuration you had with them is no longer right for you. The two recognitions can coexist. The coexistence is just the texture of being a complex person with a complex history. I want to share an orientation about how to handle the lingering presence of this person in your awareness. They may continue to come to mind occasionally, even after the integration substantially completes. The coming to mind is normal. People we have meaningfully known continue to occupy small spaces in our awareness for long periods, sometimes for the rest of our lives. The occupation does not require active engagement. You can let them come to mind without doing anything specific about it. The thoughts pass. The thoughts do not require you to take action. You can simply notice the thoughts and continue with your life. I want to acknowledge that the situation has had its own difficulty. The difficulty has been quiet, not loud, but real. You have moved through the difficulty with as much grace as the situation allowed. The grace is yours. It is one of the qualities that has been developing in you through this experience. You can carry it forward into future situations that will require similar grace. The caring will produce a continuing capacity for moving through complex emotional terrain without losing yourself in the moving. Here on Cancer Tarot, I want to leave you with a particular emphasis. The clarity that has emerged in you about your feelings is a form of victory in its own right. The victory is not over the other person. It is over the patterns that previously had you maintaining configurations that did not serve you. You have demonstrated through this experience that you can recognize when something has changed and allow the recognition to inform your engagement with reality. This capacity is one of the most valuable capacities a person can develop. It produces, over time, a life that is genuinely aligned with who you are. The alignment is the deeper gift. The other person knows what you know. The knowing on their side is theirs to handle. Your responsibility is to your own continuing life. The continuing life is good. It is opening into new dimensions that the previous configuration was foreclosing. The opening will produce, in its own time, the next chapter of your existence. The chapter will include new people, new connections, new developments that are more aligned with who you have become. You can welcome the new when it arrives. The welcoming will be easier because of the work you have done in completing what is being completed. You are not at the end of something painful. You are at the completion of a configuration that has served its purpose. The completion is clean. The cleanness is the gift. From the cleanness, what comes next can begin without being weighted by unfinished business. The not being weighted is what allows new beginnings to be light. Your new beginnings will be light. The lightness will be one of the qualities of what is approaching. Walk forward with the quiet recognition that you have handled this well. The handling has required things of you that you have provided. The providing is part of who you have become. The who you have become is more substantial than the version of you who entered this situation. You are stronger, clearer, more aligned with yourself. These qualities will serve you in everything that comes next. The other person knows that you no longer feel the same. The knowing is theirs to integrate. You can let them have their integration without interfering. Your role is to continue your own life. The continuing is the entire practice. The practice is gentle. The practice produces, over time, the life that is meant for you. You are loved by your own life. Your life has been arranging itself in your favor through the choices you have made and through the conditions you have allowed to clarify. The arrangement continues. The continuation will produce what comes next. What comes next will be good. The going forward is yours. Walk it. The walking is the entire art. The art produces the life. The life is your reward. You are okay. You are more than okay. You are inhabiting a clearer, freer version of yourself than you have inhabited before. The inhabiting is good. The inhabiting will continue. The continuing is what produces the rest. The rest is what fits you, what has been preparing itself for you, what you have been preparing yourself for. Walk into it. The walking is gentle. The walking is sustainable. The walking is yours. You have completed something significant. The completion is a foundation for what comes next. The next is good. The next is yours. Trust the next. Walk forward. The forward is open. The forward is welcoming. The forward is what you have earned through everything you have lived. Receive it. It is here. It is yours.